Review Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a nurse practitioner as well as an entrepreneur, no other than Miss Tal Raizer. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Tal. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Tal Raizer. I'm a nurse practitioner with a doctorate of nursing practice in the United States. I recently, about a year ago, opened up my own business called Plasma Med Spa, which is a medical spa in Weston, Florida that really focuses on regenerative health, regenerative medicine, and wellness. I'm a mom. I have two little kids. I have most of my background was in orthopedic surgery actually before I went into aesthetics and wellness. And then I used to be an ICU and emergency room nurse prior to that as well.
Miss Tal Raizer, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the truth about beauty, how aesthetics can be a form of wellness. How do you define the relationship between beauty and wellness in a way that challenges traditional views?
Yeah, so I think, as someone who was raised in a society where beauty is definitely something that is first and foremost, right? We're always taught, especially for women and young women, that beauty is important, that we need to look beautiful, that we need to smile, and that we need that in order to be successful, have a spouse, all these other things. So it is something that I'm very conscious of because I also am raising two little girls. But when I got into the aesthetics industry, I really wanted to make aesthetics more accessible and just less intimidating, I think. Just focusing on people feeling good in their bodies, feeling good in their skin, and just kind of increasing their confidence. And so that's something that I really make a focus to do in my business and with my patients. And then, there's also a lot of studies that show that feeling confident in your own body and in your own skin definitely helps with success. So, feeling confident in your job and your marriage, right, and your relationships. So, there's definitely a lot of evidence showing that that is a form of wellness for sure.
Ms. Tal, what scientific or medical evidence most strongly supports the idea that aesthetics impact well being?
Yeah, so the one that I definitely talk about a lot with my patients is the use of Botox for the treatment of depression. There's actually a negative feedback loop in our brain where if we make less frowning and sad faces, right, like we're treating our wrinkles, but then we can make less faces like that, that there's that negative feedback loop that actually tells the brain that you're happier. So that's something that I tell my patients.
How does your approach differ from a superficial beauty culture that often harms self esteem?
So I think, and especially now, aesthetics is shifting more into like natural, regenerative, more wellness aspect of medicine. And I think that traditionally there's a lot of people who think that there's like an ideal look, right? Like, you have to have bigger lips or high cheekbones, blonde hair, and so my business really focuses on enhancing people's, unique features versus making them look like something that they are not or making them look like someone else. And so that's something that I really pride myself on.
Let's talk about the psychological and emotional dimensions. Can you share our research? on how aesthetic experiences affect mental health.
On how, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? On how aesthetics, what?
Experiences affect mental health.
Yeah, I think, and I talked a little bit about it before, but there is research out there showing that, patients' confidence or people's confidence levels affect their success and their mental health, right? So, if you do not feel confident about the way that you look and you have to go to a meeting or you have to go meet, a potential partner or friends, and you don't feel confident in your own body and your own skin or the way that you look, that definitely affects how you respond to others, how you perform at your job. There's lots of evidence-based studies showing that that's true. And so, again, just in the sense of it's not just aesthetics, right? But it's really people's confidence that we're trying to address, not necessarily beauty.
How do you respond to critics who say focusing on beauty distracts from more important wellness practices?
I mean, I think I would ask them what more important wellness practices really apply to. When you talk about beauty, quote unquote, right? Like old standards of beauty, right? There's weight loss, there's Botox fillers, skincare, all these other things. I would say that a lot of the things that I do in my practice are also wellness, right? Like we teach people how to take care of their skin in the sense of skin cancer, prevention using SPF, avoiding the sun, right? Like not smoking, exercising. Those are all things that we talk about because beauty, even though you can treat it from the outside in, right? A lot of it is from the inside out. So if you're not taking care of your body, if you have comorbidities, diabetes, high blood pressure that are not well controlled, it's going to be very difficult to anti age, right? Or make you feel good in your own body when all these other things are breaking down. So it is something that, as a holistic approach in aesthetics, that I take in my own practice to really teach people on how to actually take care of their bodies. And it's not just, getting some Botox and going along.
Michelle, what's connection between sensory beauty like nature and personal grooming or self-care rituals?
I mean, I think again, right, like some of the things that people used to do back in the day for beauty, like tanning, going out in the sun, right? Like that's part of nature. Or even to this day, some people think, right, like you need your vitamin D by going out and laying in the sun. We know that sun damage to the skin in general is not something that is good for you. So, talking to people about avoiding sun, wearing hats, sunscreen, but also being able to be a part of nature, being able to go to the beach, just making sure that they're protecting themselves from harmful UV rays.
Let's talk about the cultural and societal perspectives, Ms. Dahl. How do cultural differences in beauty standard affect your philosophy and aesthetic wellness?
Again, as someone who focuses on the unique features of my patients, I'm not trying to make them look different, right? I'm just trying to make them either look refreshed or restoring, volume or collagen elasticity that they used to have, and something that we lose throughout the aging process. Where I live, I get patients of all different races and colors, and so it's really important to maintain their natural unique features and not try to alter those. And it's something that I do talk to my patients about. For example, the other day I had a Native American female, and they have unique facial features that I did not want to alter. And so I just something that I pointed out to her and said, hey, these are your ethnic features, and we want to enhance them, not hide them. So obviously, that's also based on patient preference, but it is something that I try to talk to my patients about and let them know that we're trying to maintain that.
In an era of body positivity, how do you reconcile self acceptance with aesthetic self improvement?
Yeah, that one's hard. So
Yes.
I personally struggle with that again as someone who's raising two little girls. It is something that I'm very conscious about. Again, saying that I was raised in an environment where, your body's never enough and you always have to make it look a certain way. So yeah, I definitely still struggle with that. But I think it's also empowering, for females specifically, but also for males to know that it's okay that, we feel that way because society has made us feel a certain way about our bodies, our faces, whatever it may be. So really kind of maybe sitting with that and just giving ourselves and, the people grace to know that having these kind of contradicting feelings about how we look and how we want to look. Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a perfect answer for that. I'm still struggling with it. So,
Very well said, Miss Tal. Very well said. What what dangerous misconceptions about beauty and wellness need to be addressed?
yeah, I mean, I think there are certain people who definitely have a disorder called body dysmorphia, right? Where they feel like they need to look a certain way that, for traditional manners is excessive. So, that's not something that I do for my patients. And so, if that's something that they're looking for, I always refuse service and recommend that they get maybe some mental health care. Um, but again, I think aesthetics is trending more towards, natural looking, more regenerative medicine, more anti aging versus looking a certain way, which I think is a good trend to have. And I hope that it continues in that direction.
Miss Tal, as a nurse practitioner and entrepreneur, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short-term goal is to pay myself. um,
Definitely.
Yes, I'm currently also a professor in a nurse practitioner program here in Miami. So I would like to one day pay myself so that I don't also have to do that. But my long term goal is more to be more of the entrepreneur versus the one who's actually doing the medicine. So I think long term, if I could hire someone to do the actual treatments, and then myself focus more on growing the business, networking, being involved in the community. And then I also want to give back to the community at some point. I want to, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I do want to give part of what my business makes to charity.
Yes. Likewise, I want to pay myself.
Oh, yes.
Definitely, we deserve to pay
I
ourselves.
agree.
And good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Miss Tal. And can you
Thank you.
please give a piece of advice for those people out there who want to be entrepreneur like you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it takes a lot of hard work, which most people know. You never get a day off, which most people know. Um,
Yes.
but I have to say, like, this is the hardest I've ever worked in my life. I'm making no money, but it's the best job I've ever had. And I'm a really nice boss to myself, so that's good.
Yes, if you love what you're doing, for sure, even
Mhm.
you're tired, you have a yes dedication to do it. And
Exactly.
we salute you for that advice, Miss
Thank you.
Tal. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yes. So I love to read. So before I opened up my business, someone recommended to me that I read The Nordstrom Way. And that's really just about high level customer service. I don't know if you know the story, but when Nordstrom started, they really have a bottom up philosophy regarding their salespeople and their customer facing people, saying
Yes.
that their leadership is there to support anyone who's customer facing. And so just really making it possible for the client or the patient to have a good experience, and really giving people freedom to do that. So that has really influenced my business and how I treat my patients. And then just really giving that good customer service. And then the other one that really impacted me was Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It talks about how the story of the founding of the business is really important and helps people to connect to the business. For example, Southwest or Apple, right? Like anytime an Apple product comes out, there are people who are dedicated to that brand and will buy whatever they sell just because of the story of Apple and the brand image that they have built around that. So I can't say that, I'm Apple yet, but that's my goal.
Probably you're an orange, Miss
Yes,
Tall.
exactly.
And thank you for that recommended books. And let's talk about the future directions. How might emerging technologies like VR or AI change our experience of aesthetic wellness?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to someone about that because I have a lot of good friends who are accountants, and we were just talking about how so many jobs are going to be replaced by AI. And I said, well, luckily I inject people for a living, so I don't think a computer will replace me anytime soon, but maybe in the future, who knows? But I think AI is definitely going to affect, a lot of this. A lot of aesthetics is provider led, meaning a patient comes in, I do a consultation, and I recommend the treatments. I think now with AI, there's going to be a lot of patient led requests, right? Patients go to AI and say, hey, like, I want to, fix this or do this, or I want this goal. Like, what should I do? And AI is obviously going to give them some recommendations, and they're going to have to be able to reconcile that with medical providers and see how that really pans out.
What institutional changes would help medicine take beauty as wellness more seriously?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of different regulations in regards to aesthetics, less so in the United States than I would like. So I think that people think that aesthetics is more like maybe a nail salon, right? They just go there to get something painted on and there's no medicine involved. Um, yeah, I mean, I really think that maybe like public service announcements, maybe, or really, maybe, I guess in this day, it would be social media influencers, maybe kind of making the case for that because providers can say all day long, right? Medical providers can say all day long that it's medicine and you need to make sure you're picking where you're going seriously. You need to make sure people are credentialed, that they're using, the right products, that they have the training that they need. But a lot of people don't care unless they know how serious it is. So, yeah, I think definitely more education for the public.
More education indeed. And what's an expected area where you have seen beauty make wellness impact?
I mean, I think wellness is like a hot topic right now, and it kind of spans a lot of different things. You have a lot of like wellness clinics popping up with red light therapy, sauna, cold plunging, a lot of different things. I actually listened to an interesting podcast called Science Versus, where they talk about, trends versus the actual scientific evidence based back information. Um, and so, yeah, I think that just like a lot of things, right? Some wellness aspects are going to be fads that are going to fade out. But I definitely think that in aesthetics, right, people are going to continue to value beauty and anti aging. And so I do think that that's probably going to stay. Now, the modalities in which we do that are probably going to continue to change, which is a good thing, right? Because technology and science is always emerging. So I think that staying on top of that is going to be important in order to stay valid in this industry.
What personal experience convinced you that beauty was a legitimate wellness pathway, Miss Tal?
I think I have always been interested in wellness in the sense that I've always exercised. My husband is an ultra marathoner. He runs ultra marathons. We've always been involved in exercise and hiking and like all these things that we enjoy. Um, and to be honest, like before I got into aesthetics, I can't say that I thought it was a legitimate wellness investment, I would say. But now that I've trained in it and I've really seen kind of the effects it has on people and just the gravity of how their lives are affected by it, I definitely see a wellness aspect to it because, again, confidence or lack of confidence can definitely cause things like depression, anxiety, lack of social interaction. And those are all important, obviously, for our mental health and well being.
Miss Tal, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its first season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. Miss Tal, if you could help someone adopt just one beauty wellness practice, what would it be?
Sunscreen.
Oh, yes.
That one's pretty easy.
Yes, definitely. Sunscreen, people, most especially today is summer, and
Exactly.
very hot. Miss Tal Raizer, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners support your business itself?
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so where do people reach you, Miss Tal, regarding your business?
So our website is plasmametspa.com, and on socials we're at plasmametspa.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Tal Razor because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering plasma med spa to come. So, Miss Tal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.